G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where I get to hang out with some legendary sailors and my two idiot mates. Another great week, Vendee about to start, so let's bring in Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
Hey bud.
G'day all, how is everyone today? Oh,
great. Tickety boo, how are you bud?
Good answer. I feel fantastic, to be honest. I feel like the weight of the world is lifted off my shoulders. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just feel like the world is a good place to be right now.
All right, cool. Well,
I don't know why.
Eh?
I don't know why.
Okay. Well, I know her bloke is in a good place to be right now. A guy sitting in a pub. Let's bring in our other mate.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Yep, current location, the Governor High Marsh Hotel, top of Port Road, Adelaide. I'm sure you've done a bit of time here, Jordan, back in your day.
Not as much as you, mate.
No, currently here, we're on the eve of the Variety Club Bash, about to take off, which some of the listeners would have heard about, and we're here for the Gold Panel Night, which is essentially some of the top fundraisers get to find out whether they were the top fundraiser or not. And we've gone all right. We're quietly confident. Not sure if we're Trump confident or Biden confident, but
no comment.
But essentially, we're going for the win. We raised over $60,000 for Variety.
Wow!
So we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And well, I didn't raise too much. Snowdy did it all.
Yeah.
Snowdy's and a few of the others. Yeah. Snowdy did it all, and Middo. This is another story. But he tried outbidding one of our auction things, basically to try and boost the numbers up, and he ended up building himself a whole new bathroom. Bravo, Middo.
Good on you. Get the plumber to do that. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, then. So at some point in time, you might hear the bell ring. That means I've got to run out of the room, but never fear. And speaking of which, let's kick off. We got some exciting stuff.
Yep. So this week, the Vendee, or as this goes to air, the Vendee will be starting. We wanted to get a real expert in to talk about what to expect, what to look for, particularly around the weather, the routing, the strategy. So we thought, who could we think of? And with Andrew Cape came to mind. He's won the America's Cup in 2003. Did the double-handed round the world race, got second in that, won the Sydney Hobart 5 times, bunch of other regattas, and he's done 7 round the world ocean races as part of the Volvo.
Eight.
Sorry,
he's the most coveted. Yeah.
There's some noise in the background. Said 8.
Sorry, mate. Anyway, let's bring Capey in. Let's just say, Capey's here to help us talk about the Vendee. We will definitely be getting Capey back just to talk about Capey because there's nothing he loves more. But welcome to the show, Capey.
Hello. All good?
Yeah, mate. Good to have you.
So how many, Capey, just quickly, straight off the bat, so 8 Volvo/Whitbreads, but how many others? How many laps around the world?
No, it's 8 laps around the world, 7 Volvo Whitbreads and 1 Barcelona World Race.
Yeah, copy.
So 8 times around the world racing.
The Horn, another 2 times for practice, so I've got 10 times around the Horn.
Oh, that'll do.
You know what they say, if you go around the Horn, you're allowed to piss into the wind. So, mate.
That's right.
You can get away with it as long as you want.
Piss wherever I want.
Exactly, whenever you want.
Capey can piss into a cyclone. He's got no fears now. Also studied naval architecture, but obviously found that he had a real aptitude for the navigation and the mathematics of the sailing, and that's where his true love lies. And he's considered one of the world's great navigators. So welcome to the show. The obvious first question is, a couple of years ago in Newport, Rhode Island.
No. Come on, boys.
We'll say, I want to defend the guy. That's
all fair.
Yeah, no, I want to get the record down. What actually happened? Where he's the saint in the story, mate. That's what I want to get on record. All right, so let's rip into it, Capey. How are you involved with the Vendee this time around?
I'm working for Alex Thomson on the Hugo Boss project, and my role right now is just to set him up for the first part of the race and give him the best advice.
Can
So just sorry, Jordan, but
on.
based on that, I mean, there's no pressure though, Capey, right? Because they say that Vendee's won or lost down the Atlantic, and that's essentially your key role right now.
Well, as far the only input to weather we can have now is purely just the first few days, and we all know the latest forecast is the best forecast. So 2 or 3 days into it, they could really throw away what we've told them. So and they're on their own, but the race could be won anyway. Really,
So
a lot of things going on.
I mean, we do call Alex a little bit of a test rig, which is slang in our world for breaking things. So have you suggested he not hit anything as part of his strategies? Has that discussion happened with Alex at all or not?
No, that's obviously not a discussion. I mean, most of this stuff's bad luck, and
if you
do it enough times, a lot of bad luck will get you. So that's one of the huge aspects of the Vendee Globe. I mean, you can sail your best race ever, and a lot of things can go wrong. And that'll show in every Vendee Globe. Only 50% of the fleet will finish.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing is we got 33 boats going around the world. Last time there was a few foiling boats. This time more than half the fleet are foilers. So there's 18 foiling boats in that fleet. 10 are sort of refurbished or added on, and then 8 new boats. When you look at the fleet, are you so focused on the weather stuff, or you actually take note of the other boats' sort of design characteristics when you're thinking of the strategies when you talk with Alex?
Well, as you say, all the foils that are there, they're all very different, and boats are all going to have very different characteristics. We could tell by looking at them in the dock. They're good points of sail, and so we know from our own intelligence how boats will perform. So it's going to vary a lot. It's going to be a hugely interesting race. That's why it's going to be a great thing. But everyone will have their good parts and bad parts, and it's just a matter of how it all works out by the time we get back here, or the boats get back, because that's the only way to work it out.
I've got a point that I'd like to raise, and I think a lot of the listeners would also like to know the answer to this. How do you feel? Well, you obviously haven't done a lot of testing, or a lot of the boats haven't done a lot of testing. How do you feel? Where do you feel Alex's strength is with this new boat?
I don't know how much I should say. We've done a lot of testing. The boat's done over 15,000 miles since it was new.
Wow.
That's fair enough.
But we think Alex's strength is running.
Yep.
So we're looking at gains in the Southern Ocean. Once the boats get past Brazil and start running, and then get along the exclusion zone all the way to Cape Horn and beyond, that's where the boat have its strength.
Yep. Yeah.
So during that testing, Kobe, you did a lot of sailing on the boat, right?
Yep.
Is it it just looks like an absolute weapon? And it is an absolute weapon. Is it scary weapon, or just got all the good bits in the right places?
It's a great boat. Starting with the layout alone, the protected cockpit's just fantastic. And the way you can sit there, bit protected, waves rolling over the top, everything's perfect. Having a cup of tea, steering on the seats, and everything's in front of you. It's the future, really, especially of offshore racing, and single-handed by a mile. But the boat's good, and it can go exceedingly fast. I mean, you're hitting 30 knots boat speed in around 20 knots of true wind speed. So it starts to get scary. Sometimes you do get some quite unpleasant acceleration, deceleration, but they do move. That's for sure.
Sorry, mate. As part of Alex's team, so there's yourself, Alex, of course, all Alex's stalwarts that have been there for a long time, but you've got Neil Mack as part of the team as well. Mm-hmm. So fair to say you've got a fair bit of experience there. And just explain a little bit maybe for the listeners, like who controls what area obviously Neil has a lot to do from a technical point of view, as well as Alex's input.
Yeah, Neil's a super coach, really. He's got his finger on everything, and he's the right-hand man of Alex, really, he's listening to the whole time. And as you say, in every aspect of the performance of the boat, which is key.
Absolutely. And
we've got a huge team. I can't go through all of it. I mean, the detail in this boat is the best I've seen in any boat.
Wow.
In my experience, really, it's cup-level technology here, and the amount of detail is exceptional. Everything's been well thought out, well prepared, probably replaced already, and it is very, very, very good.
We've all watched Alex's efforts over the last however many years, and we all know that there's been ups and downs. So obviously this one, are you guys feeling that he's probably the best prepared he's been? Is that how you're feeling, and probably with the people he's got around him as well?
I certainly think so, and I think the team, as a team, we all think it is. Definitely, the preparation's been exceptional.
Yeah.
But saying that, you can go outside, and you can hit a log in 2 days' time. A lot can go wrong. So there's nothing, never, ever guaranteed in this sport.
Yeah.
Well, you've already mentioned that earlier, but it's, preparation obviously in a race like this is absolutely critical. You say you feel like you've got the best weapon out there, and you feel like you're better prepared. So that's a good thing.
Capey, with the foils on Alex's boat, because the Hugo Boss boat's VPLP with a lot of influence from Pete Hobson in the design, and maybe you could touch on that. But also, what's the thought process in the foils as well? Because I think you can get a couple of different sort of shaped VPLP foils. There's sort of a gigantic one and a sort of medium-sized one. Just talk us through what's the thoughts on the way the boat's set up as much as you can without getting yourself in trouble.
And as you say, there's a number of options, and Alex has looked at where he wants to perform, and we've gone down that route of finding what we think is best. So everyone's got a different idea, and there's always more and more options, and people just go with their gut, really. I think a lot of the way, and how they feel and how they want to, and others also they want to. Maybe some people want to just follow what the other guys are doing. So we've gone out a slightly different way, which now some boats maybe have been copying, but saying that, there's no perfect test until the boats are out there side by side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that's the biggest question, right? Despite the 15,000 miles, Alex is probably the only one who hasn't sailed against the other boats as much as the rest of the fleet. So I think everyone is not only excited just for the race, but to actually see what's going to happen.
You're dead right there. We haven't raced against another boat. And this is like cup level stuff where you don't know till the first race, really. So there's so many variables, and it'll be really good to watch. It'll be a great thing to watch over the winter here in Europe, and definitely through all the lockdowns we've got up here.
So,
Fancy that. Like we've gone from the world's most watched election to the world's most watched boat race. About to take off.
What election's been going on?
Queensland election.
Oh, the Queensland election. Yeah, she did well. She's not talking. She's not talking to the Queensland, the New South Wales Premier at all. Yeah. She's snubbing the texts and everything. Well, sorry, guys.
That's all right. Move on. Hey, Capey, so you've done a lot of miles on the boat. One of the things that we know from our experience, and we've discussed with the listeners, is that you get a lot of riding moment off the foils now, and so. My imagination, because I haven't sailed one of these, is that you can just keep pushing the boat and keep pushing the boat, and you can keep the sail area up because you just get more and more riding moment off the foils, and until the mast fails, basically, because that's the weakest point at the moment. What sort of systems do you have on the boat? Like, have you got a strategy around how you will drive the boat, or Alex will drive the boat in that situation, or do you have strain gauges on the mast and you just work off those? Is it without Can you tell us that at all or not?
Well, the mast itself's been designed to take all the loads you can throw at it, so they don't see that as a problem.
Okay.
The biggest problem is the foil itself overloading and snapping.
Okay.
And obviously there's a lot of work's gone into that and design work, but it also has fibre optics in it to let you know the alarm will go off when it's going to go off when it's overloaded.
Yep.
And if it's overloading too many times in a set period, it'll be time to back off. And it's self-limiting, mainly more by the waves and the wind. But you know, when the breeze is over 25 knots, you're slowing down, you're not trying to push it 1,000%. And the bigger the waves, the harder it is to keep going. So it's sort of naturally limiting.
What about with all your experience with the Volvo and the next edition? There's going to be a fleet of these racing fully crewed. How do you reckon that'll go? Like, do you reckon that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Could be a bad thing. I mean, with a crew, you're obviously going to be tending to push it harder, especially if the race is tight. But these boats are downwind boats, got downwind foils. That's what they are to provide lift downwind. And the ocean race, whatever you call it now, it's still called the Volvo. And the odd places that goes, the boards won't even work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean, as a choice of a class, I mean, maybe it's not the right thing.
Yep. So it like the upwind work is what you're saying is going to be, because like I don't know what they're sailing pretty wide angles. These things when what they call upwind is pretty wide for what most of us experience. It's a lot wider angles than, it's out wider than catamaran sort of stuff. So, all right. Well, what about the weather, mate? Can we talk about the weather that they're going to see from what you're seeing at the moment?
For the start on Sunday, it's looking like a sort of a southerly-ish direction, sort of 10 knots, but building through the afternoon. So the boats will get away pretty cleanly and get away pretty fast, really. There's nice conditions into the first night, and then there's just a succession of fronts and different age low-pressure systems all the way down to the equator, really, or the doldrums. So it's looking okay. There's nothing heinous out.
So despite getting away fast, what's the first decision? Is it just to basically head down Portuguese coast or go wider, or?
Well, with a southerly, people will just blat it out to the west into the first front out there, wait till they get into that, and they'll go to the breeze will go wet to the west, so they'll have to be forced to tack onto starboard. Then it's a matter of what angle you want. Do you want to sail to Finisterre itself or go higher towards the next next front, really? And that's and there's probably a succession of three of these things that you've got to sort of find your way through. So, I mean, that'll have to be decided, when you get much, much closer to that. They'll have to decide that themselves, the skippers, when they, when it's nearby.
Do you look at it and think, oh, geez, that's tricky? Like, to me, when I'm just looking on some of the maps now, and I'm looking at that going, geez, that's going to be tricky. There's a ridge through there. There's a lot of light wind patches. As you say, there's a bunch of fronts coming. Is it a particularly tricky map at the moment? Would you say that, or is it?
It's always tricky. There's never straightforward. I mean, especially starting in the Bay of Biscay, you're not in the trades. So you've got to get down to the trades if they exist. So it's not a perfect situation, but I think as the time gets closer, it might become more obvious. But right now, no, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. So, despite the weather and despite your favourite Capey, what do you think of the rest of the fleet in regards to who you see around with Guillaume's boat, Chiral, some of the others? What do you?
I think any of those top teams. Yeah, Chiral's certainly a huge contender. I think any of these new boat and teams, they're really well set up, and there's a lot of varied designs there too. So you just don't know. I couldn't bet on it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even do that on the way to the finish because even up the Atlantic, a lot can go on. on the return trip, and big differences can still happen on the way to the finish.
It has been interesting watching some of the racing has been going on. It's been close. There's been a lot of close boats, and as you say, you get a little lull, and one boat creeps around the corner and takes the win, sort of thing. So, but that it almost seems like it's going to come down to the sailor more so than the boat now, because they're all quite equal. And is it more important the hull or the foil now?
Oh, it's all in the foils. The hulls. And they're so light and they're all wide, and there's some varied situations going on in the bow. But once the boats are using their foils, and the bow don't make any difference. And not much of the hull makes any difference. But a lot of time the boats aren't on the foils, aren't they? And so there will be a lot of variation.
Which is the question I was just about to ask you. Obviously, we've talked about how they're going to, how are they going to handle the heavier conditions? I mean, what about in the lighter conditions, especially going across the doldrums? I mean, I guess that's where the hull shape comes in, right? Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, well, the newer generation boats with big foils, they aren't good in the light air. And there's even more things you can do wrong with your hull to make it worse than light air. So light air is not good. An old boat in light air, I'm talking a 2007 boat, could go better in light air.
Yep.
And will certainly probably go better upwind than a modern boat.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could even see some of the non-foiling boats getting through in the light air, maybe.
But you could if you had light air patches to a start, but once the breeze is up to 10 knots, the difference is so big you've lost in the game.
Yeah, sure.
But funny things happen. Big ocean.
Sam Davies is on a nice boat in that situation, then, isn't she? She's got a 2000.
Yeah, but the foils will be stuck out there and dragging away.
Yeah.
Which is the advantage of your boat, right, or Alex's boat, in the sense you can retract the foil completely.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that something that he brought forward from his last experience? He wanted to be able to do that. Is that how?
Well, it is. Well, it's part of it, but and it does help a lot. But there's nothing that a lot of people think that you can replace the foil or reverse. There's none of that. You have a damage to the foil, and that's it. So
it's terminal.
Anyone that does damage is terminal. Yeah.
Well, I think when we met episode maybe like super early in bar karate, when Alex's boat first came out, and we spoke about Alex's story of essentially drawing in the fog of the windscreen while they were waiting for the ferry the foil that he wanted on his boat. I had my own theory on it, that he was just drawing it from great big cock and balls. But
Vendee one.
as one does while you're bored in the Atlantic.
But no, but we've kind of had our theories along the way. But when you see the boats, it is super balanced. It looks good. Like it looks like you say, KP. It's all the details have been looked after, and we hope Alex really utilises it, and I'm sure he will. He said last time after his last one day that he's not doing another one, and it didn't take long before he was straight back into it.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of that old Hobart syndrome. Yeah. You forget all the bad bits and you're about to jump in. So
that's right.
Let's hope to see him just fanging it in the Southern Ocean. It's going to be pretty cool. There's a lot of people behind him.
That'll be the good part of it. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Especially if a Navy ship's in the area with a helicopter, he'll be in his element.
Yeah, well, and if he's got his English flag for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely got that.
Hey, KP, knowing you've modelled.
Have you drawn some? Sorry, mate, just jump in there. Have you drawn some stars on it for him, mate?
No.
I like it. Knowing you, KP, you've modelled the whole race right from start to finish. Is that? Can I say that you've probably done that?
Yep. Oh yeah. Couple of times.
Yeah, I figured that. What time? How long is it taking you to do the race in your modelling?
70 days.
70 days. Okay.
How much food he's taken? 67.
65.
Yeah. Nice. Good
Hungry
answer.
Wolf. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
And actually, a question I had: what year are we in? El Nino or La Nina?
El Niña. El Niña.
El Nino.
That's right.
What's
La Niña.
What difference, or if any, does that make?
You would typically say could make it stronger, and more in the Southern Ocean.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Basically, literally, like when you guys just sent it on the Brunel from New Zealand to Cape Horn, averaging just almost 20 knots the whole way. You'd say that was strong.
Well, you could say it's windier than that. Maybe I'll even.
Oh wow!
Go back another year. 2011 was a windy year. A lot of breakages, and it could be a windy Southern Ocean.
Bloody hell! Yeah, that's plenty on there.
Did the ice gates come out about where you expected? There was nothing unusual there with the ice gates?
It's not it's just a restriction, really.
Yeah.
Antarctic exclusion zone set every 5 degrees. It was a little bit higher in the Southern Atlantic. It's to take into account a big iceberg that's down there off South Georgia.
Yep.
And they set that, or they reset it this week. And it's also the exclusion zone's brought up a bit past Australia.
Yep.
To get them closer, so the maritime rescue don't have to go too far down.
Yep.
But so it is, and then after that, it's pretty free.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a struggle to get you safe that far.
I just knew that was coming. What's the range of the U-safe? How high do you have to stand to get it down there? Yeah.
Line of sight, so you're going to be at least 18 miles.
Get up in a helicopter.
Yeah.
That could happen. We could arrange something there, Bossy.
Capey, what'll be the big surprise? Is there anything that like we haven't thought of, like that people will go, holy shit? Like, will it be the way we can view it now because of some of the onboard cameras that we're going to see, or is it how fast the boats are going to go, or how fragile? Something like that. Is it?
I think it's going to be how fast and then how different they are.
Right.
I mean, you'll be seeing, and then you might see one boat take off, and the next day another one take off. So it's going to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the
exciting
part.
And there's going to be a lot of breakages, like normal. That's going to happen, and that's part of the course. But with foils, they're more vulnerable. So you can get used to now some skipper having a bleat every day about a foil problem.
Yeah.
And that's going to be continuous.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you do it by yourself, mate, in one of these things?
I'm too old now.
Yeah, no.
But they're great. They're great boats, and I like sailing. But yeah, it'd be too lonely.
Okay. What about that angle of sail?
Too lonely.
Which is the most uncomfortable? So just so the listeners can understand. So is it most uncomfortable going to wind or downwind, or when are you really like your nappy's starting to get full? Like when is it really
sort
nerve-wracking?
of beam reaching? When you can't, bear away.
Yeah.
You just got to go one speed, and the boat will start to rip, and then you're just at the mercy of the wave and the gust, and the boats do take on a sort of awkward motion in that case. Running's okay because you can bear away more to slow them down, but when they're beam reaching 190 to 110 true, it's hard work.
Yeah.
And they're fast.
Yeah, fully powered up and just relying on the wave, and hopefully the wave doesn't. Yeah.
And a discussion that we've had quite a few times: elevators on the rudders. Would that help life?
It'd help a lot, but that's not allowed by the class. I don't think they're going to allow it for a long time because the French try and keep it under a manageable cost range, and I think they've gone over that now. So I don't believe they'll want to modify the class for a couple of years.
Manageable cost range? Bloody hell. There's 8 foilers. There's 10 boats that have just essentially rebuilt their complete boat. I reckon the cost range is blown out completely.
Well, that's right. That's why they don't want to advance it more. And I think the elevators and the rudder would make another huge step that I don't think they want to be involved with at this stage. So, but that's the good thing about this class. It's sort of run by the existing owners, if you like. They're highly political. But that won't change, I don't think. But yeah, then you're in a different generation again.
We think it's a safety issue. Like we reckon if you put those elevators on the rudder, it's like the boats just become that much more controllable and much more safe.
They'd just be a lot faster. There'd be a lot more. But you still got the same problem with the waves. The sea's not going to change.
No.
So that,
Yeah.
they're not going to be foiling like you see the cup boats, because they do that in pretty flat water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Hey, KB, I'm pretty conscious of the time and know you've got to go and probably just link into another Zoom meeting and listen to a French weather report or something. But 3 questions from Vice. One, how's your French?
No bon.
No,
Good one.
good one.
Very bad.
2, I know it's full lockdown there now, but how much time do you spend in the patisseries? Was that like your local? You go down and check the weather in the morning, or do you have the full setup down in the village?
I am not allowed out of my flat. You can't. There's no shops open. There's nowhere to go. Food's left at my front door. So it is. I'm in quarantine really, and it's horrible. And so I'm just stuck doing my bit here, and I can log onto the boat remotely and do things on the boat, but it's pretty grim.
Wow.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, I couldn't imagine what it's like. But...
And the race village is shut.
Yeah. So I've got the last question. If you were out of quarantine, is it moules frites or crepes?
I'd just have a coffee and a croissant. I think it's just down by the beach here, and quietly through the week, and then come Sunday afternoon, I'd be hitting it large. Blow out on Sunday night after the boats are gone.
Yeah, thank God they're gone party, eh? The thank God they're gone party.
Yeah, I'd have my own. I might have to have my own anyway, but yeah.
Well, you probably haven't experienced many thank God they're gone parties because you're always on the boat.
Yeah.
I did once when I was in Auckland in 2001. I didn't do the whatever it was then, and I hated it. It was really boring. Yeah. I was really looking forward to it. Going, this is going to be great. But I went to this, thank God they're playing. I thought it was.
No, you're right. It was a shitter really at the Loaded Hog. I remember
exactly
it well.
right.
Yeah, that was shit.
Oh, it's great.
I love it.
It was actually that was in Ilbrook. We were at that point in time. Each team had their responsibility of organising. Thank God they're gone party. So I'm blaming Tom Fair on that one.
Okay, it was turned German, did it? Anyways. I actually did go to one in Campbell too, the same year when the race started, and that was crap as well.
Yeah, King and Queen, remember it well.
Exactly.
I put my dewberries on, slipped into the Laracus, and I was down there.
Yep.
I guess I was there in a good year because I can tell you we made the most of ours.
Yeah, they always sound good. People always talk them up, but got to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Copy.
Good.
Cool. All right, mate. We know you're strapped for time, so we'll let you go because we know you've got another meeting you're desperate to get to. We appreciate you taking the time and telling us all the news. We might touch bases with you a couple of times over the race if that's possible. But
no problem.
Yeah,
and we need to talk about the next big event in ocean racing too. You know what I'm talking about? The Great Cape Race.
Exactly. The Ocean Globe Race. I like it. It's fantastic.
No, come on. No. Come on. I know you guys work for the evil empire, but yeah.
No, we don't actually.
We don't work for anyone.
Neither of us. But no, in all seriousness, we definitely need you back on, KP, to talk about the Great Cape Race. We need to talk about your history. We need to talk about everything you've done. I think it's a fantastic story. So, again, thanks for joining us. All the best to Alex and the team. Send our bonjours and the everything to old roast beef, as they call him. Yep. And, love your work, mate.
Okay, thanks, guys. Got to run. So, see you next time. Look forward to it.
See you, mate.
Yeah.
Good on you, Katie. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, mate.
Going off.
Good work. That was fun.
Good.
Was he?
No, I'm going to say he was a bit too serious.
Wants to let
It was serious. I think his mind switched on at the moment.
No, he's, and I know there is, for Alex, there's only one result, and that's winning.
Yeah.
And
well,
fair
that's why he keeps coming back, right?
He's surrounded by some fantastic guys. Of course, one of those being Andrew Cape, the other one being Neil Mack. I mean, you couldn't. If you're putting together like one of the world's greatest teams, those guys are on the list, I've got to say.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Bravo to Alex. We wish him all the luck in the world.
If we've got Neil Mack on the team as a super coach, what is Jordan going to do?
Well, I'm not coaching any of them. I'd love to. That'd be a good one. I sailed.
He's actually he's going to join the team as the rudder elevator.
Just told him a little hand.
Rudder.
I remember. I think I've said. I'm not sure if I've said this story on the show before. I sailed against Neil Mack in a Worlds in Canada.
On what sort of boat?
Hey.
On what sort of boat?
Oh, the 505.
Oh, the 505.
Yeah. And it was like a 3-hour sail out from where we launched, and every day, 3 hours out, 3 hours back. It was a nightmare. But one day no wind, right? I'm a young lad. Like, this is my first Worlds, right? First young lad, first sort of coming out, and it was just no wind at all. And we were drifting around for hours. And we go past Neil Mack's boat. Like, we're taking turns sleeping on our boat, and go past Neil Mack's boat, and he's reading a book. Like, who takes a book out on a 505, 3 hours out on the course at a world championship level? He was so calm, and I just looked at him and thought, this guy knows what he's doing. He knew it was going to be light, and he's not stressed by anything. It was very funny.
You know who we do need? We need Neil Mack on this show, I'll tell you.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
thinking that, yep.
We get on well with him.
He is an absolute legend of the sport.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the small story about Neil Mack.
Yeah.
Like, his knowledge, his wisdom in everything, and having spent a whole lot of time with him, the best thing is he's a bloody top bloke.
Yeah.
I was just about to say his demeanour, his character is so unassuming. He just wanders around and does his job and gets it done. You get on a boat with him, it's the same. There's no angst or, as we say on Barkarati here, dickheadness. It's just perfect, isn't it? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Get him on.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
yeah.
So,
and so maybe Alex was running those roles. No dickhead.
Maybe.
So he's got Neil Mack, got Capey.
Yeah.
Got a great team.
Yep.
Maybe Alex listened to us and said, "That's the motto. That's how we do this. That's how we roll here at Hugo Boss." The new Barkarati book of sailing.
I want to throw a few questions at you blokes. I just want to get your views, like what you think it's going to be like. So, we've sort of heard from a few people now, but I actually just want to go to the question around the rig loads on the boats. We know that the rig is at one design component on these boats. KP's saying he reckons the foils would go before the rigs. My money or my information is it's the other way around, that the rigs will go before the foils. So do we want to discuss that? Because there's so much riding moment comes off these foils now. You don't even need the keel, basically, once they're loaded up.
I'm happy to kick off.
Go for it.
I think in this particular instance, e.g. Vendee Globe single-handed, you are fully depowering way earlier. I think the rig discussion comes into it when you start talking about the ocean race.
Yep.
When you've got 5 or 6 like full of
energy.
I was going to say testosterone, but that's not the case because
I was hoping you were going to say something like that. Yeah.
But basically, fully fledged, fully crewed racing where you're not holding back. That's when you start finding the weakest link. In that, for these guys and girls who are 34, 33, who are about to launch off around the world, well, it's about boat management. It's about people management. Reality is they're not going to be able to push the boats past their expectations. If they do, that's another story.
Yeah.
But to finish first, you must finish.
Exactly. We touched on it last week with Marcus, regarding the fact that these boats are 99% auto helm all the way around, and I guess the only other thing is then they've got the sensors to bring into the play. So once the sensors are in play, they know where they're at with the loads of the boat. So they're able to say, listen, I need to slow down. So they just depower the boats more and more. And as Boise just said, it's to win the race, you've got to finish the race. And bar not hitting anything in the ocean, which is obviously unavoidable, or, an element, definitely an element of bad luck and all that. It comes down to the fact of saying, well, I've just got to keep the boat at an average of this so many knots. And I'm sure there's a mathematical figure in place that says I've got to keep the boat at this speed for 70 days.
Well, I know Capey's done those numbers, and there'll be a whole spreadsheet on Alex's boat explaining all that. I'm interested because in the past you could describe the Vendee as you go as hard as you can from the start to gain a lead, and then you just cover the fleet, and you rein it back in basically. From what I took out of what Capey was just saying is that Alex might actually be more take it easy, and then once we hit the Southern Ocean, just smoke it. That's what I took from that conversation.
Absolutely, but I also am really interested to see what happens at the doldrums. For me, I know it's a big part of this race, both sides. You've got a down and you've got an up, and I think it's whoever obviously the race to the Southern Ocean is the key. I mean, I'm really excited, to be honest. I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, Boise, do you want to add anything there or not?
I mean, the whole doldrums discussion, we went through a lot of this with the ABN boats, which were super powerful boats. And to be fast through the doldrums it's kind of cool. But to be 4 knots quicker out of the doldrums when you've got breeze, or 5 or 6 knots quicker, that has way more advantage.
Yeah.
You reckon that's where they're heading with that sort of philosophy?
Yeah,
just get through, and then take it on.
Yeah, I think so. Put the foot down, but to know how far you put in Alex's scenario. Well, actually, all of them, to tell the truth. So I think we're going to see some super fast sailing. We're going to see some spectacular. Well, are we going to see spectacular shots off of the boats? I'm not entirely sure.
I think we will.
So,
I think we'll get a lot of helicopter flights over. They'll be the spectacular ones. They're the ones that really work. The on-board ones, not as exciting, but we'll get lots of those come off. But the spectacular stuff is when we get a helicopter overhead. So let's just hope somebody's hiring helicopters, although maybe a lot of them are grounded these days, who knows. All right, so
it is going to be cool, boys. So cool.
Well, let me take it another level. So what we know from the fleet, so we know there's 33 boats, right? I've mentioned this. We know that there are 10 that were boats that have had foils added on or previous generation foilers, right? We know there are 8 new boats. So first thing, so I'm building up to a discussion here. First thing, and this is probably, I know exactly what the answer is, so I'll throw to Bryce on this one because I know it's his expertise. Where are the boats slamming now compared to before? So when you're building a boat prior to foils, you built slamming sections into it. It's a whole different place in the boat nowadays.
Yeah, so take your typical Volvo 70, anything forward of the mast, you'd be monolithic essentially, or have definitely some strength, extra longitudinals or something up in that section. But now you can pretty much, I reckon, draw a triangle from the back of the keel to the back corner of each side, and that's your slamming section.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's just incredible. I find that incredible.
whether I'm not sure of what the construction is now, whether that's all monolithic, but I wouldn't be surprised like these boats, like the bottom half of the hull shell is almost all monolithic because it's copping some abuse, some serious abuse.
So in that situation then, if you're building your boats like that, then we have to understand that some of the boats that have got foils now in them, probably a few of those 10 boats without foils in them, haven't been built with slamming sections from the back of the keel to the back corners. That doesn't exist. So they've been retrofitted. You'd have to imagine they've been retrofitted, which adds weight.
Yep. Concur.
So,
but all that stuff would have to be taken into consideration, of course.
Yeah,
they would have done the numbers. If you're putting in extra kilos for the slamming sections with all the, like, you're probably adding half a ton by the time you put foils, foil cases, slamming section, strengthening. It's going to get up there. But you're doing 3 or 4 knots quicker.
Our mates at Thomson would have sold a lot of carbon over the to the fleet.
Correct. Thomson.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's bloody interesting. It's a whole new world, and we're still at the forefront of it. So, especially with these boats who have limitations.
So then this is where I bring you both in. So we've added 600 kilos, 500 kilos to those boats, so those 10 boats. So the transition to getting on the foil, they're going to be heavier boats by about 500 kilo, half a ton, which is spot on, I reckon. Everything else is the same. They've got the same foils. They're buying the same foil packages, but they're just carrying a little more weight. So for those sort of refurbished boats, it'll be the transition to fully foiling, because of that extra weight. They'll just they'll need another knot or two before they get up on their foils.
Yes and no. I think the boats built with foils are probably heavier anyway because they have to deal with it.
Interesting.
I can't remember the exact number of the exact weight of, say, the original Massif with dagger boards. Mm-hmm. But to do take Sam's boat, for example, that would have been a pretty light boat back in its day, and a whole lot lighter than a boat that's built to host foils, for that matter. So I'd love to see all the specs actually of all the boats.
I think you can.
That'd be cool.
If you go into imoca.com, .org, sorry. There is a little bit of detail about each individual boat. I'm interested in Armel Tripon's boat, the La Occitane en Provence.
Just brilliant explanation.
Actually, just while you're on that, because I know Marcus mentioned that last week.
Yep.
He sent me a message.
Yeah, me too. I was getting to that.
Saying he forgot to mention Kevin Escoffier.
Yeah.
As one of his favourites
on PRB.
So just for the listeners and just for the record, and I concur. Kevin, fantastic guy, technically, professionally, everything. He has the potential.
So, BP, you were sort of suggesting that some of these sort of retrofitted boats might go better through some of those light patches, which was shown. We've seen that the old ones without foils have gone really well in like the Fastnet. We saw that.
Well, we saw that in a standout, didn't we? We saw Pip Hare just take off and launch off the start line. But look, you've got to be, as Bossy said a second ago, if there is 6 to 7 knots difference in downwind performance, that's just going to get eaten up very quickly. I mean, that's just how it is. You're not going to have the old Mediterranean bubble around the world, as we used to call it back in the day. It's if the modern boats can get through in a relatively good shape, then they're going to accelerate away. And I guess it's all relative as well. So you look at the leading boats, the latest boats, it's going to be the same. Yep. The better boats that get through the doldrums might get through the doldrums because they are better in the light. And as KP mentioned, that he believes Alex's strength is the downwind heavy stuff. So it's going to be a massive race of snakes and ladders. It's going to be really cool.
When KP was explaining it, I almost had. On trains, they have this little lever that you can go and you move it 5 degrees, 5 degrees, 5 degrees, and you go different speeds. Yeah, like that's how I can see the boats performing.
Yeah,
depending on the wind angle, just 5 degrees either way. One boat is going to jump out, the next boat's going to jump out, the next boat's going to jump out. It's going to be.
And do you think
exceptional?
I've got a question for you guys. Okay, so let's say we get through this race, and bar damages and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, there's a whole.
I thought you were going to go bar karate is what they all want when they arrive.
Now I've got to get back onto my question.
Right. Go on.
So bar damages and incidents. They're going to get around the world. In the next edition, do you think we'll see a rein-in on design where they go, well, look, that worked. Let's refine that particular formula. I mean, is it going to keep going the way it's going? It's a big question. Are we going to see just designs keep coming, or is it going to start refining?
Let me start the discussion, because I think that comes down to which foil works. So we've got.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we've got the Vendee, Guillaume's sort of foil set up. There's a couple of different VPLP sort of style foils. Some that you can fully retract, some that you can't. And it'll actually come down to those foils. Like, if you're a fan of the race, probably worth tracking who's got what foils. Sure. And then just actually, see what happens at the end. Of course, if they break or not will be interesting. But, yeah. What do you think, boss?
Yeah, go on.
Nah. I don't think we're even close because there's obviously that going back to the old train clicking at every 5 degrees. There'll be a foil that would be suited to that every 5 degrees. So to actually compare a foil to be the fastest foil, you could argue you need an all-rounder. To actually have the fastest foil at 120 degrees true, you're not going upwind at all. So I think there's a lot of discussion there, and that's where the trade-off starts happening. On what do you see? This is where KP's role, for example, is so important, is what is the routing, what are the angles, what is the chance we're going to sail at those particular angles over the last 20 years, weather, data, blah, blah, blah. And that's how typically you would design a boat in the past. But now it's going to be typically how you're going to design a foil in the future. So,
well, I mean, this probably comes directly to the point of the bar karate morphing foil that we're talking about. If they're going to work it out, I mean, we were already ahead of the game. We've got it pretty well nearly done, I think. Is that what you were saying earlier, Bicey, that the morphing foil?
Yeah, pretty much. The morphing foil is almost finalised. Yeah. So
that's, by the way, that we own the IP, so there'll be no cutting in on that one. There's been a bit of cutting in the last couple of weeks on various people saying that was our design, but this is ours. This is the bar karate morphing foil.
You're effectively talking like the flaps on a plane wing, is what you're saying, BP.
You're effectively talking about the ability to move the skin to a different position. Yeah, exactly.
Flaps on a plane wing. I'm intrigued. I mean, it's not a bad idea. I'm sure somebody's thinking about it right now. Some smart people, obviously, like yourself, BP. How come you didn't put foils on the X2?
It's just a whole new design.
I'll tell you why.
Cost.
Cost.
One, you wouldn't be eligible for IRC in the Sydney Hobart, and two, hang on, two-handed.
You're not eligible.
Anyway.
You're not eligible. Oh, don't start me. Do not start me. I was not going to bring this up. All right.
Hold.
It was not.
Sorry.
Play the music, Sam. Play the music. Play the music.
In.
Hold. Let's just. Is there anything else we want to speak that's Vendee related?
Yes. No. Keep on Vendee, please.
Yes. No.
Pete, you can hold on that angle.
All I want to say is we do know there's a few of the guys and girls that do listen to us from who are about to launch across the world. We've spoken to Boris. We've spoken to Pip. We have good relationships with a lot of the other teams that we've spoken to, and we wish them all the best. But what we will say is just download all the episodes, and there's going to be a quiz at the end of the race for all the Vendee skippers about what happened on what episode. So we expect every single skipper to download every single episode and listen to them. They're allowed to take notes. They're allowed to take cheat notes, whatever they want.
Yeah.
But there'll be a quiz.
I do know.
Held in Paris.
Yeah.
Within 78 days of the start of the race.
Yeah. Perfect. I do know that a couple of skippers have actually downloaded a bunch of Baccarati banter for the race to help them go to sleep.
Hey, it works. Puts me to sleep.
All right, and BP, anything else you want to bring up Vendee related?
No, look, I think it's just been said, and I don't think I need to go over it again. I think it's going to be so exciting. I'm just looking forward to, as Bicey mentioned, the snakes and ladders of the race. You know, who's going to make little gains here, little gains there. I sincerely hope there's no issues where we're losing boards, because ultimately that detracts from the actual end result. I mean, I think we know it's going to happen. Well, I mean, we can't sit here and say it's not going to happen, but we know that something's going to hit something. But we just hope that they all get around, and if they do have an issue, that everything's cool.
Yep. All right. So basically, as this episode's going to air, the race is starting. So it's starts on Sunday the 8th, 12:02 Greenwich Mean Time. As KP said, it'll be pretty good conditions. They will be on the nose for the first few days. A few little fronts to navigate. So we should see some good racing, but no super high-speed blast breaching. Like, we'll just see them just going upwind, but they look quite good going, close to the wind. So we'll get some good footage for the first few days. Should be fun.
Here.
Cool.
I'm excited, boys, and I reckon put it this way, it's going to be on the run sheet for the next 70 days. 80, 90 days.
Cool. All right. Any secret pro news anyone wants to drop on me?
Yep, I got some.
What's that?
The Sydney Hobart is not recognising 2 sailors in IRC.
All right. Let me do the intros before let's BP kettle steam away over there and get the steam coming out of the ears.
I'm going to get a drink.
No, don't go. All right, I'll do a bit of chat.
Seriously.
All right. So first news is that the Sydney Hobart is definitely going ahead. So that actually is 100% certain that the Sydney Hobart is going ahead. 100 boats have entered. Not many maxis entered, but the racing is happening.
Hey, actually, I was talking to our mate David Cawthorne from Tasmania just prior to recording this podcast, and we were
how'd that go for you?
Chatting about all the boats and blah blah blah, and I think a little kudos out to the Wild Oats team for actually making the decision that they're not going to go this year, based on, I mean, there's been where they're involved, obviously a lot in tourism and stuff, and they would have had let a lot of people go this year.
Yep.
And to actually not be on the start line, it's not
a bad
in
look.
Their eyes, not the thing to do. A good call.
Yeah.
In saying that, Dave Cawthorne brought up, well, it's probably putting 20 yachties out of work for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, they're still tinkering around. I saw McGee the other day. They're still busy doing stuff. There's enough boats in that little program to keep them busy.
No, a little kudos to Sandy Oatley for making that call.
Yep.
Be a bloody hard call too, based on the history. Yeah. But 100 boats going to be there by the looks of things. Sydney Hobart, it's on. I'm excited.
And if you are excited about the Sydney Hobart and keen and are heading south, it's not signed and sealed, but 95% certain you will be drinking Baccarati Sailors Lager at the venues when you arrive down south. So, and we are madly in the brewery. Not that we're personally doing the brewing, but making sure that there are going to be enough cans of.
How many cans do you reckon we need?
I don't know. We were trying to work it out today. I did the numbers, right? I'm going at least 500 in each hotel, people, minimum, I reckon.
How about we do it by boats? So there's 100 boats, right?
100 boats, that's right. Yeah.
At average 10 people per boat.
Right, which gets you to your 1,000 people, which split that between two hotels is 500 each. Yep, so you're on the same math. Yeah. Okay.
Probably. And you're going to stay for at least 3 days each.
Yep.
Right. 3,000 cans.
400.
Oh, yeah.
400 and 400. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, more than enough.
Hang on, let me just send the text now.
Yeah. That's basically the maths I was doing today. So, but anyway, just from a sailor's perspective, if you haven't had a sailor's lager, then you'll be able to just walk in and it should be sitting there, a nice gleaming blue can of ice cold beer, which you will love. My last case of beer, one of the patrons at the Mooloolaba Bay Yacht Club rang me up and said, can I buy some more beer? And we said, we're just waiting for it to come off the line. We're sold out, and there are some cases in Victoria, if you're listening, but we're sold out. And he said, I said, I've only got a case left for myself. And he said, I'll take it. And he came over and took my beer off me. So,
no. And you let it go.
Well, he loves it. I mean, he loves it, and you know.
Hey, by the way, Jordan,
client focused.
I don't know if you boys saw this, but email from Chris Howe. I'm just going to read it out.
Yeah.
Long time coming review of the Sailors Lager.
Well, okay.
Thanks again for taking the time to drop the beers off to me. That's for you, Jordan.
Yep.
There was a lot of interest in the beer. You are correct. It is the beer for sailors. First day of the regatta, I was on the rescue boat, and the second day I sailed, and the beer was great after coming off the water. Everyone that tried the beer loved it and were keen for more. So well done.
Excellent.
You're on something.
Excellent.
But just quickly, the winner of that particular regatta was a 14-year-old Chris Gregg and his father Ian on the 505.
Oh,
here we go again.
No. Chris is
unfortunately, I didn't get a photo of Sailor's Lager in the 14-year-old's hand, but no, I'm on joke. Yeah. I made that last bit up.
No, I will mention that Ian and Chris. I've known Ian for 30 years. Competed against him, and he's like, one of the really nice bloke, really kind, caring bloke. And his son Chris, I remember when he was born, he's been around 5-0 since he was born and never known any different. And he started sailing he went straight from a holdie, got comfortable to his holdie, and then started steering a 5-0. And so he's been steering 5-0s, and he actually led a heat of the worlds around the first mark at one stage.
I remember you mentioning this.
Probably a couple of years ago, so he would have been 12, and all the top sailors in the world, and he, sailing with Dad. So, good on him. It's great. It's a good flight.
Yeah. And I heard Hasso Plattner's recruited him to steer the Vigione.
There you go. Probably a future for him. So that brings us to the discussion where I'll just reiterate, we are going to start doing a class focus for an episode, maybe once a month or something. We haven't worked it out yet, but if you are interested, contact us at Cheers at Bar Karate as who we should liaise with. So if you want to promote your class, we want to talk about the history, how you sail the boats, how they've changed, interesting stuff. We want to make people interested in sailing, right? And the boats. And, we can talk about anything you want, but contact us and we'll just, otherwise we'll just ring you. But if you've got a good speaker, let us know and we'll chat to them. So that'll be a good one. Okay, BP, let's get you. There was talk of about 30, 35 double-handers entering the Sydney Hobart. That number's down now to about 20, I think. Is it 22? Because they can't win the overall. They can't win the Sydney Hobart overall. How do we feel about that, BP?
Well, there's my answer.
Okay.
Is that good? No, look, to be honest and to be serious, this whole thing is very new to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned this to a lot of the posts that have been going on. There's been some very interesting posts. Can I use that word, interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what that means. There's been a lot of quite vocal and poignant. Another good word, poignant.
You're on fire.
Opinions placed upon various outlets in the media. My personal opinion is that it will happen, and I plead to everyone that it's in the short-handed scene to let's get the first race up and running and get it underway. Get down there and get amongst it. Enjoy the fact that you may win the first ever short-handed series division, and we continue discussions because. The fact of the matter is, short-handed sailing is a growing force. It's no longer, as it has been in the past, considered a few eccentric people who just want to sail on their own. It's now a serious division. It has always been a serious division in Europe with the Class 40s, the Imoccas, and to the springboard of the minis. It's always been that way since 1977. In fact, since it first started. And to be honest with you, I did expect something like this to happen. So my opinion, or my personal opinion, even though I don't necessarily agree with it, I know that in the coming year or years to come, the short-handed division will grow, and it will grow to a point where the demand will become more upon the organisers to say, well, this is how it is. I mean, I guess the big point, and sorry to ramble on here, but the big point is that people think that the modern day autopilot can sail a boat better than a human can, because they look at this fact that these Imoccas are sailing around the world with 99% autopilot, maybe more, 99.9% autopilot. But it's not actually the fact. And the fact is that these autopilots are designed to sail a boat a certain way because of the way they're set up. You can sail a boat at probably 80% of a human can, but at 24 hours a day. Yes, that's true. But if you're on a fully crewed boat, you've got a new steerer every hour. If you're on a professional boat, every hour is your general rule of thumb, because especially in heavy conditions, every hour or maybe two, depending on your situation, that's when you start fading. An autopilot will steer the boat for 80% of the time to 24 hours a day. But if you've got a fully crewed boat, you're going to be able to outperform an autopilot easily. And that's just how it is. I mean, that's a fact, and that's how I stand. And I think that it's a decision that is not premature, but I think it's just a sign of where we are in this growth. I think that over the next couple of years, or hopefully next year, we can reverse it. But we have to just take it. That's what it is.
Hey, gents, just quickly, I've got to run because we're about to go and get our prize, whatever that is. But my comment is, what does everyone else do? Can you win the middle sea race on IRC with double-handed? Can you win the Fastnet IRC double-handed? probably not at this point. I haven't done my research, I must admit. And I'm on the fence on this one, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, look,
I can see the pros and the cons, and the fact it went from 35 to 18 or whatever the number is. I'm not sure. I think it's probably an excuse.
Other factors.
Yeah, there's other factors.
And again, because I'm neck deep in this particular format, obviously I'm going to be all for it. But the fact of the matter is, I hope I explained myself well enough there to say that this is new for this race.
Yeah.
Well, we got the 23% serious done just then, BP, is what I'll say.
Good. Because I'm done.
Basically, the decision was because of the autopilots, they didn't want to count them in. So that was the decision. And but all I want to say is when I look at double-handed racing, I don't care about any of the other crap. I just think, it'd be a lot of fun to go at the mate and just go blasting.
Exactly.
I reckon that'll be cool. And it's cheap and it'll be good. All right.
That is where we're at.
Jess,
so Bice is off.
I'm going to leave you guys to wrap up the show.
Right.
Because
you're going to get your prize.
I'll be reporting in next week. And lovely work, man.
Stay sober. Stay alive. Enjoy it.
Yeah, you might not hear from me for a while.
Right.
You're going to go and get lost. Say hello to Snowdy for me. I'm assuming he's there somewhere.
Well, the only other thing I've got to say is, have you heard the theory about the safest time to fly is straight after a plane accident?
Yeah. Pre-disastered, yep.
Yep. So I started getting a little bit of gout yesterday. And I've slammed the drugs in. Gout's gone, so I reckon I'm good for a week for the Variety Club Bash.
You idiot.
Oh, mate.
Don't kill our link, boss. Just as you hang up, don't kill our link.
No, of course not.
Okay.
All
right, so mate, we're about finished anyway. I do want to mention that we do have a new president of World Sailing, so Quan Hai Li from China. Congratulations, new president of World Sailing. BP, do you want to run through the other names that were elected vice presidents?
No, because I've just lost my phone.
You're right. But so there's a whole list of 7 vice presidents. So, a friend of ours, Sarah Kenny, congratulations, Sarah. Does an amazing amount of work in Australia. I don't know the others, but there was from the US, from Ireland, from France, from South Africa, from Poland, from Turkey. And then a Chinese president.
How'd we go? Do you reckon we'd get the Chinese president on?
I don't know. I don't.
We'll talk to Lily. We'll talk to Lily.
I'd say so. Give it a go. Why not? As long as it might be a bit more than 23% serious. That's my only concern, BP.
Well, we can run that.
Okay. The last thing I've got on my little list. Have you got anything else you want to bring up, bud?
No. Look, I just want to close out on that discussion earlier. I think that where we're at is good. I think we just need to accept it and move forward and keep the vibe of sailing rolling. There's double-handed, whether it's that's where I'm at. That's where I stand on it, mate. So I just wanted to say that.
All right. Well, that's a good segue for me. One of the things that we do on Cheers at Barkarati is that we've asked people to reach out to us and we'll promote their sailing regattas for them and talk them up. And Alan Davis from the Lake Jindabyne Sailing Club contacted me. He's a mad fan of the show. Bought T-shirts, bought the beer, doing all sorts of stuff. So they've got their Snowy Mountains Regatta. So for those from overseas, Lake Jindabyne is right up near the snowfields of Australia, the tiny, tiny little snowfields that we have. It actually snowed last night, I think. So their regatta is on
it was freezing. It was freezing here in Sydney today.
Was it? Oh, okay. We got the fans on. 4th to 6th of December, the fleet's taipans, fast multis, slow multis, trailable yachts and flying 15s and other monohulls. So it's a beautiful part of the world. Summer, nice lake, lots of hills. And, so give them a chance. If you're looking for a regatta in New South Wales, the Lake Jindabyne Snowy Mountains Regatta, just Google that and you will find the information. But couldn't we said we'll promote events. So there you go. That's it.
I love sailing up there. I did a little bit of sailing up at in the Southern Highlands actually when I first got back from Spain, and did the Southern Highlands Sailing Club. Our good mate Owen Mutt lives up in that area, and he's actually I can add to your run sheet. Not on the run sheet. He's just won. I believe he's just won some Southern Highlands Sailor of the Year award. I saw a photo of him.
Oh, cool.
So that area is it's really cool sailing up in those lakes. I love it.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. All right. Our civic duty done. Our show is over.
I think so.
It's time to go. So. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, KP. And one final good luck to everyone in the Vendee.
Yeah, can't wait. Be safe, everyone, and smash it. And we're going to be watching.
No, don't smash it.
Smash it. All right. Okay.
Enjoy. Cheers. Mate.
Where you threw everything at it, BP. Drums are going, the slide's going, everything's happening.
Mate, I did everything. I'm like Lenny Kravitz. Did the whole lot.
Oh, it's going crazy.
You know Lenny Kravitz played every instrument on his albums.
Yeah. And